Good evening. I am going to call to order the June 3rd, 2024 school committee meeting. Just read the statement. This meeting is being held in person and or remotely as an alternate means of public access pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023 and all other applicable laws, temporarily amending certain provisions of the open meeting law. You are hereby advised that this meeting and all communications during this meeting may be recorded by the town of Hingham in accordance with the open meeting law. If any participant wishes to record this meeting, please notify the chair at the start of the meeting in accordance with Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20F, so that the chair may inform all other participants of said recording. We have Harper Media recording, thank you. And we're also recording on Zoom for purposes of minutes. Is there anybody in the audience or online who is recording? If you could throw your hand up. A second. No, okay. All right, so we're going to move over to item 2. We are going to table 2.1, the minutes of May 6th, but we can proceed to item 2.2, which is the minutes of the school committee meeting held on May 20th, 2024.
I will make a motion to approve the minutes of May 20th, 2024.
I will second.
Any discussion?
That was a meeting I came late to. Do you mean I came at 7 o'clock? I don't know if.
Well, now you tell me. I wasn't actually there, but
Okay.
I'm seconding him anyways.
If I don't know if that needs to be added just to show what I was there for and what I wasn't there for.
It does say you don't have to wait on it.
I mean, if I'm going to be called out like that.
Duly noted.
Any other comments, questions, feedback? No, okay. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No, okay. All right, so moving over to item 3, questions and comments. This is the part of the meeting where we have set aside 15 minutes to take questions and comments for items that are not on tonight's agenda. Our practice is to take questions and comments during new business items that are on tonight's agenda. Raise your hand if you would like to be, okay, so I'll read the statement. All right. So the Hingham School Committee encourages community engagement and welcomes questions and comments as agenda items are discussed at the meeting. In addition, we have set aside up to 15 minutes at the beginning of this meeting for comments or questions that fall under the purview of the school committee and are not already on tonight's agenda. If any guest wishes to speak, please raise your hand, state your name and address your comments to the chairperson. Comments will be limited to 3 minutes per speaker and must relate to the topics within the scope of the responsibility of the school committee. As established by Mass General Laws, the responsibility of the school committee are to 1, select and evaluate the superintendent, 2, review and approve budgets for public education in the district, and 3, establish educational goals and policies for the schools in the district. Speakers are encouraged to present their remarks in a respectful manner and to consider the privacy interest of others. The public comment period is not a time for debate or response to comments by the school committee. The school committee is not adopting or endorsing any of the comments made during the public comment period. In addition to this public comment period, the school committee practice is to provide time for questions and comments from the public on new business items. Okay, so Jacqueline.
Hello, Jacqueline Beaupre, Hingham Education Association President. So I come today with news that last Thursday, over 400 members of our association participated in a vote of no confidence in School Committee Chair Ness Carenti's leadership of Hingham Public Schools. The vote passed with 96% voting in favor, focusing on 5 specific reasons. 1, Chair Carenti disregarded our no confidence vote in Superintendent Adams last December. 2, the school committee under Chair Carenti failed to pay employees accurately and on time. Grievances were denied, and over 15 wage law violations affecting hundreds of employees have yet to be resolved. 3, there has been repeated failure to fully fund Hingham Public Schools. Chair Carenti agreed to unreasonably restrict school spending growth to 3.5% in an MOU to help pass the override. Combined with not passing an adequate budget, the school department immediately hit a financial crisis. Hingham citizens voted to violate the MOU at town meeting, increasing the school budget by moving $2 million from free cash. Chair Carenti voted against the motion, and following the town meeting, then voted to use the overturned MOU language to reject the will of voters. 4, paraeducator shortages continue to impact student success. Drawn-out negotiations has furthered inadequate para wages and benefits, causing chronic understaffing and resulting in non-compliance on IEPs for over 100 students across 3 schools. It seems to be common practice in the district that several $100,000 budgeted for para pay is instead spent in other areas to balance the budget, while their wages remain at poverty levels. 5, demoralizing and hypocritical negotiation tactics. Despite passionate words about protecting social emotional health, Chair Krenti has repeatedly authorized the use of the district's email server, website, social media, and news media to send out mass communications that demoralize, demean, and attempt to silence staff. Additionally, despite verbal commitment to helping educators achieve a better health insurance premium split, we were stonewalled when we brought it to negotiations. There have also been threats of no retro pay if negotiations go past June 30th. While members of the HEA recognize the importance of volunteers in local government, it is critical to hold them accountable for the work they do. This vote of no confidence is meant to encourage deep reflection and change on the part of Chair Carenti, the committee, and the community as a whole. Educators have been sounding the alarm for over a year, and Chair Carenti has failed to listen or take meaningful action. Staff are concerned about the funding, future, and operations of Hingham Public Schools and do not always feel listened to or treated respectfully. We hope our vote will be taken seriously and encourage a change in individual actions or people elected. We stand ready to work with our elected officials for the benefit of Hingham students and community, but need a willing partner to do so successfully. Thank you.
Thank you for your feedback. I'm sorry that you feel that way. I would like to address one or two things. Thank you very much. As far as the vote of no confidence with what? Oh, okay, sorry. Okay. With Dr. Adams, similar to, I'm actually going to go down here. Mass General Law is very specific on the purpose of the evaluation to all educators. It's to promote student learning, growth, and achievement by providing educators with feedback for improvement, enhance opportunities for professional growth, and clear structures for accountability, and B, to provide a record of facts and assessments for personnel decisions. The Code of Massachusetts Regulation, or CMR, contains regulations established by the state agencies pursuant to the Administration Procedures Act. The CMR is to ensure that every school committee has a system to ensure that the professionalism and accountability of teachers and administrators that will enable them to assist all students to perform to the highest levels. I printed out for everybody's reference. I recognize people are not necessarily here, but online. This is the CMR that I'm specifically referencing. It provides much information on the evaluation of educators, including the scope and purpose, evaluation cycle, evidence used in an evaluation, and implementation and reporting. The evaluation process for a superintendent and educator are not that different. There is a process. The one difference is that the superintendent evaluation is done in public. Our procedure is to complete the summative evaluation towards the end of the fiscal year. However, that does not mean that we have not been meeting to discuss the feedback. So appreciate that you had provided the vote of no confidence back in December, and it's not meant to say that we are not addressing it. I am sad that you are taking a vote against me. I'm sorry that you feel that way. I would encourage anyone to step up and run for office. Paperwork comes out in January. All right, so I'm going to move over to item 4, Superintendent's Report. Dr. Adams?
So in the packet, in my report, just to share a couple of updates, the last day of school is coming up on June 14th. It's a half day of school, and the last day for our teachers is June 17th. Want to share that the town is continuing some of its work on mental health, and there's a great workshop this Thursday at the library, Talk Saves Lives, an important focus on suicide prevention and what we as a community can do. That's at 6 o'clock at the library, June 6th. The health department has more information, and there's more information on the town website. I think it's important we continue as a community to discuss and support mental health as a community overall. Last week, we were honored to celebrate many grade 3 to 5 students in the elementary math awards night. We honored students who competed in 2 competitions, including the New England Math League and the Continental Mathematics League. Those are contests that the students complete and fill out, and we gave awards to students in the highest categories across the schools. It was an honor to see all of our students celebrated for their work in math this year. As well as the elementary, there's some information around, as we continue to focus on the implementation of the elementary reading program, we're pushing off looking at K through 5 math, looking for educators to support some research next year into math programs, and with the hope of making a decision in the spring next year around updating our K through 5 math program. Today, some of us were able to go to the third grade mock town meeting. There's another tomorrow. It was a pleasure to see the students advocate for several of their ideas for warrant articles. A reminder that this is in support of the implementation of the Mass curriculum frameworks in history and social studies, where students are learning about civic engagement. And in third grade, students are learning about local government and the role that they might play in the democratic process. So we want to thank the Hingham Historical Society, the League of Women Voters of Hingham, and the Friends of the Old Ship Meeting House for their support of the event. It's an amazing event to see several organizations come together in support of our students. Our 8th graders are also, their civics projects are well underway. There's community, last week we heard from several community experts who gave their advice, and I was glad to be one of them, their advice on several of their ideas for ways they can improve the community. I would welcome the committee and others in the community to come on June 13th to the middle school to see the Civics Day Assembly and the student-led showcase. They'll be showcasing their projects and what they've learned. It's in the morning, June 13th at 9:30. There are lots of activities going on to support the transition between grade spans. 5th grade had its move-up day on Friday, May 24th, where 5th graders got to go to the middle school and enjoy the afternoon there, learning about the middle school. That day also they announced the One Book, One School Read, which is A Wish in the Dark, and we look forward to talking more about that book over the summer and in the fall with students. It's a theme that really resonates around bringing community and a supportive, unified learning environment. Hingham also, June 19th, has its own Juneteenth celebration, which the Hingham Unity Council is promoting. We'd welcome the community to learn more about the festivities. It looks like it's going to be a great event. Just to also share, we learned last week that 2 additional courses were approved by Quincy College for dual enrollment, which brings the total of 7 courses that are approved for the coming school year. And that is in addition to, we offer dual enrollment in French 5 and Latin 4 as well. So that's 7, 8, 9 courses that offer dual enrollment. We also learned on Friday, we'll have more details in the coming weeks as we learn more. We learned that we were one of 17 Massachusetts school districts who earned a part of $42 million from the U.S. EPA's Clean School Bus Program. Hingham was awarded $600,000, which will support the school buses with cleaner electronic models, helping communities reduce climate pollution and reducing health risks for children. So we'll share more information as we learn more, but we're grateful for the opportunity to consider adding electric buses to our fleet. I believe we have a year to expend that grant money, so we'll bring you more information in upcoming meetings, but we just learned that on Friday, and we were excited and wanted to share that news.
Great, thank you. Any feedback? No? Okay. All right, item 5.1, communications received by the superintendent. Anything to add? No, okay. Student communications, we do not have a student representative here today. It was a beautiful graduation this weekend, so hopefully they're enjoying their time. 5.3, other communications? Ally?
I've had a few, and I think there's been a few emails as well to the committee just from the 8th graders with their civics projects. So I just wanted to call attention to that we've received some great questions. Hopefully they've received information back that is helpful to them, but if you receive anything else, we've been, in the responses, I've been encouraging them to reach out to specific people that are appropriate and to be able to better answer their questions. Slater isn't here, but he is among the many recipients of being sent over to ask questions to, but they've had great questions.
Yeah, they've been great. And the mock town meeting this morning was so fun. It was really well done. I was really impressed with all of the different the details, and even the moderator came, so that was great. Anybody else? No? Okay. Item 6, unfinished business. We don't have any, so we'll move over to item 7, new business, 7.1, to provide an update on the strategic plan.
So as we've been doing for the last 2 years, and this year, this is our third update on the strategic plan. So we provided a longer document that's sort of this running document that provides an update on all of the happenings that we wanted to share with you for this year. This is just our third update, we just wanted to do some highlights for you of some key things that have happened since the last update. For Goal 1, Culture of Collaboration and Community, we've chosen a new website platform called Aptigee. The district has been designing a new menu. On Friday, we got some feedback also from the townwide PTO, who gave us some feedback on what are the key areas they, as parents, look for in the website. What this platform will allow us is to do, it's a communication platform, so that right now when we want to send something, we have to use a platform for email, Aspen, we have to use something separate to do a phone call, we have to use something separate, we have to post separately on social media. This will allow one communication that can then go out to all avenues, to the website, immediately to social media, as well as do text. There'll be a text feature as well. It also will come with an app that's on the mobile, that people can download, and it'll be much more mobile friendly. So it's a streamlined way of communicating. We were then able to collapse several platforms, and so it'll be cost neutral, and we think in the long run will likely save us money because it'll just be easier for folks to use than the current platform we have. We've been working, curriculum directors with staff have been working on curriculum guides, and those have been updated to include common formats and district initiatives. As you know, we've updated the Student Opportunity Act that to align with the district goals around MTSS, supporting students with disabilities, as well as the social, emotional, and mental health discussions we've been having. We started some pilot programs that are ongoing. You approved a pilot from 5th to 6th grade this summer. We hope to have a group of students going from 5th to 6th grade to learn more about this at the middle school this summer. And we hope in the coming years that's a pilot that we can grow and begin earlier in the year and grow it in subsequent years to be a part of the transition to support students between grades. You also supported for next year, had come before you, world language enrichment that we hope and are in the planning processes to start next year through KIA. For goal number 2, culturally responsive teaching and learning, we shared a tool with educators around looking at bias in instructional materials with K through 5 educators earlier this spring. East and PRS completed the second year of the Inclusive Practices Academy that has helped them continue a focus on UDL practices in those buildings. They'll continue into the third year next year. We also supported Foster. Foster submitted an application to become part of the Tiered Literacy DAC Academy. All of those academies are free professional development and come with coaching, so we're hopeful that we'll also be able to participate in that academy. Foster also started some work with an instructional coach that we've been working with at PRS and at East to help support their implementation of the literacy block and UDL practices as well. So we felt that we wanted to share some of the best practices in those buildings with the Foster as well. So that work began this spring, and we're hoping to continue that next year. Next school committee meeting, you'll hear about the World Language Program Review that started with year 1 this year, and the Social Studies Program Review that's completing its second year will present its report on June 17th. We'll be before you shortly, we hope in the first meeting of July, with an action plan for the SPED program evaluation. Dr. Cataldo and I have been working on that and getting some feedback on it as we go along. On goal number 3, healthy, equitable, and inclusive environments. You've heard about the participation of members of the leadership team in Medco 2.0. With that, we've also received additional funding from Medco to continue that work into next year with the leadership team. We enlisted, as part of that work, we enlisted Darnisa Armonte-Jackson to meet with the leadership team to help us frame how to connect MTSS, SEL, and UDL in an equitable and inclusive lens. So we're hopeful to continue that work with her, sort of spearheaded it this spring, and we're going to continue that next year. The bullying task force, that's one of the items on the strategic plan, hopes to try to meet one last time to finalize the plan, and we hope to bring that to you soon. We started some work with someone named Jessica Minahan, who does a lot of work with districts, and is the author of a couple of books. She's a BCBA by training, does a lot of work around how to support staff, around social emotional learning, around students with anxiety, depression, and other mental health and disabilities, emotional disabilities. And so she did some work with staff this year. We've started to contract with her to continue that work for next year. She's also done some work with the foster this spring to sort of get to know us a little more and directly work with staff and working individually with students and staff to help provide embedded kind of coaching so that we can take some of those ideas and practices and really support their implementation in the school. The SEL task force has kind of finished up its work for this year and will begin next year. We visited programs in Norton, Situate, and Marshfield. We'd like to visit additional programs next fall in Needham and Wellesley, our districts we've identified with programs that we'd like to go see. We looked at the YRBS spring data, and we've tried to identify, we're looking at try to see who we can partner with. Jessica Minahan is one, but looking at partnering perhaps with McLean and Walker as well. And so we're trying to find who the right partner is for each level to help us continue to deepen the work and support staff with individual students who might be struggling. In capital and finance, as you know, the new elementary building continues its work. It looks like it's going up really quickly, but we do know it's been postponed from an August opening. And we made arrangements to accommodate the preschool classrooms at Foster, and one of the classrooms will be going to East and staying at East. We presented recently the technology plan to the school committee first year. We were working today on bids for the PRS columns, and we hope to begin that work this summer. And we've also begun the process with Aisha's support for the Wellness Center at the high school, and that has an architect and an OPM and is progressing along. And finally, in Goal 5, we're planning some small groups. Marianne Foley, our new Human Resource Coordinator, started today, and so we're planning some small group meetings with hiring managers in the next 2 weeks to help talk about hiring practices for this summer and try to get feedback and sort of be clear on what the processes and procedures are for the upcoming hiring season for the summer. We sent representatives to 3 recruiting fairs this spring and collected resumes and shared them, and thinking about specifically how we recruit for positions like maintenance, custodial facilities, and bus drivers, food service, which are areas that our traditional kind of route of school spring doesn't work. And so we need to do some work to look at different ways to recruit for those particular positions. The middle school schedule, as you've heard all year long, is planning to team in 8th grade. And we're trying to look at ways to provide more leadership to those team meetings that teams have to really also indicate and support how we're supporting the implementation of MTSS and use that team structure there. And in addition to how do we support our special ed students at the middle school, and using team meetings as a place where that kind of collaboration can happen. And we continued our work on the hiring of substitutes. We held 2 additional orientations for new substitutes this year, and hope to get in a cadence all year long of doing that work with new substitutes with our new HR coordinator. So we're excited to have her on board now.
Thank you.
Ask a question?
Yes.
Just one quick question. The very first thing I spoke about, going all the way back to the beginning, the aptitude, is that something that you'll be able to use for communication for emergencies?
Yes, yes, so that in the minute, someone could be typing something out, it'll immediately go out on email. You kind of click the boxes of what you want, go immediately on email, text message. It could go right on the website and on social media with just one click. So it's much easier. Right now, as I explained, we're doing it like 4 or 5 times, and so in an emergency, it's taking time away from trying to address what's happening because you're trying to address all the mediums to get the information out, so.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, that's great.
So they have a whole process of how to inform the community. So on July 1st, you'll see a new website, kind of look to what's happening, a new menu. All summer long, behind the scenes, we'll be updating all of the pages. And then as school approaches, we'll be doing a whole campaign around signing up for the app, signing up for text alerts. It automatically connects to Aspen as well, so every night it does a download of all the Aspen information on student family information, so it's always up to date. So it has the latest information on phone numbers and emails automatically all the time, and that's done automatically. So it's no one behind the scenes uploading that information. So in the long run, it's cost neutral, and we think that in the long run it will actually save us money from what we currently have.
That's great.
That's great.
Yeah.
Anyone else?
Just say this is a tremendous amount of work. Reading through that, and we've been kind of updated with a lot of these things throughout the year, and just to see it all in one place is really impressive. So thank you to you and your team and all the staff that were involved in doing this so far. It's exciting.
All right. So 7.2, it's to review the recommendations from the chair on new subcommittee assignments and to act as appropriate. So in your packet, you'll see my proposed suggestions. We've got a lot of the teams are the same. Educational programming will still be chaired by Tim Miller-Dempsey. I would be on there, and Carrie Nee. Finance would remain the same. Jen Benham as the chair, myself and Matt Cosman. Policy would stay the same. Allie Anderson would be the chair, Jen Benham and Carrie Nee. And then you'll see there's 2 salary negotiations teams. One is the current team that has been working all throughout these 16, 17, 18 months. Carrie Nee would be the chair, Michelle Ayer and Tim Miller-Dempsey. And then there's a second team, and the thought process was here would be with Carrie the chair, Michelle would stay on, and then to add Allie Anderson. And that's not because Tim needs a break, because he wanted to continue the work.
It could be.
But recognizing that Allie may very well be the only one here the next time negotiations comes up, so wanted to give her the exposure and experience to do that. And then special ed would continue to be chaired by Matt Cosman, Michelle Ayer would go on there, and Tim Miller-Dempsey would be on there as well.
And the building committee, will that continue to be?
Those are liaisons, so I have that in the packet at the end, so I can go through all those. But these are the ones in our policy that needs to be voted on. Any questions? Feedback? Somebody want to make a motion?
Sure. I will make a motion to accept the recommendations from the chair on the 2020-24, 2020-25 subcommittee assignments.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No, okay. All right, 7.3, to identify dates for summer meetings of the school committee and act as appropriate. Before we do that, just looking at the date, we've got June 3rd right now. We have a meeting June 17th, and recognizing that we're going to do the superintendent evaluation, we'll start that process at the next meeting. I'll go through the matrices and what needs to be filled out for that, and then we will present the summative evaluation at the next meeting, the first July meeting. The other thing, and I know it's upsetting to hear, however, this June 30th date is looming. It's unfortunately not a threat, but if we do not have contracts that are negotiated, we do not have a legal right to encumber the funds for raises. Therefore, what happens with that is that the raises that have been, that we have been not paying out because we don't have the signed contract, that would end up going back to the town. It goes back as a turnback. And what happens with the turnback at the end of the year is that it goes into fund balance. We can only get that out once it is voted on at town meeting, which would be next spring. So I wanted to make sure that I was perfectly clear about that. Okay, so that being said, on the, oh no, there's one more thing before June 30th. One other decision that we need to make, which will go on the agenda for the next meeting. We do have some positions that will be recalled, so we will vote on those at the next meeting. Okay.
Just the liaisons, I didn't know if Aisha had a question on the liaisons, or were we going over those?
I'm
as
going to
well?
go through that at the end when we get to subcommittee and project reports, because we didn't need to sign on, we didn't need to vote on those, so we can go through those in a minute. Oh, a few minutes. All right, so in your packet, the summer schedule, we were trying to do one each month, one July, one August, but recognizing that the week of school starting is a hard time to do a meeting. So we have two proposed for August. So we do July 15th for our July meeting, then August 5th, which is early enough in August, and then do a second one on August 26th, which would be the week before school starts. Any thoughts, feedback?
Will not be able to be there for August 5th.
Okay, you're off the committee.
Lose negotiations, lose the committee. It's been a rough meeting for me.
I know, it's tough. All right, somebody want to make a motion?
Sure. I will make a motion to accept the 2024 summer schedule.
I will second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No, okay. All right, so the next, this is when Ally's going to be doing a lot of talking. So we have a lot of work that the policy had done. There was a lot of cleanup on some language and then the removal of some policies. So she is going to be taking us from items 7.3 through 7.10. These are all first reads, so we will put them on the agenda at the next meeting to vote on them. So I'm going to let Ally take off.
Thank you. So if you remember way back to the fall, one of the goals for policy committee was that we're going to start reviewing all of our policies based on the MASC suggested revisions, that they had sent out a massive laundry list, and we got pretty much through the B policies, and then we had a lot of needs that we needed to address that kind of knocked them out of the way. So we are going back now to some policies that we looked at in subcommittee in October and November. So it took us a little bit to refresh our memories on what they were, but that we approved in subcommittee and now bringing to you guys. They have very minor changes, so they were not urgent to bring to you. But we'll start with BG, which is school committee policy development. And I put the originals in there, and then I put a redlined version. So this one just removes one line that MASC felt was no longer necessary about accepting definitions set forth by the National School Boards Association. And then it changed a little bit of the language in the middle, and we adjusted it to work for us about what the policies actually should be and why we're using them, and just to make sure that a little bit of what they included, that we want them to be broad enough to indicate our actions, but not super specific that we are pigeonholing ourselves. So that is the language change in the middle of BG. If anyone has questions on that one. I put them all in the same document, so it wasn't as daunting. The next one, with all the red lines. The next one is BGC, which is policy revision and review. And again, just some minor kind of wording changes that MASC had suggested and that we adjusted around what we felt worked for Hingham, but about how we review and evaluate policies and implement them. And the big change in this one was we had some language in there about relying and considering feedback, so we changed it to say that we will consider feedback from school staff, students, and the community when we're revising policies, just to make sure that that was incorporated in and that we were hearing that feedback from the community. Any questions on this one? No? Okay, the next two get really easy. The next one is BIBA, School Committee Conferences, Conventions, and Workshops. And this one just has one wordsmith of the word "the school committee shall" to "the school committee will be made aware of school committee conferences," just not to be as demanding. And then the final policy with revisions is BJ, School Committee Legislative Program. And leave the easiest one for last. If you look down, it's hard to see in bullet number 3. The only change is changing 2 dashes to 2 commas in this one. So I'm sure we'll have a lot of feedback from the public on that one. So those are the edits. If anyone has any questions. And then we have 2 policies for removal. Again, they were suggested by MASC as no longer being necessary. The first one is BEDB-E, agenda format. And their reasoning was that that is included in some of the other policies about the order of how meetings should be run, and it was very specific, and so they have that language in other policies a little more generally about the agenda format. And the second one is BK, school committee memberships, and if you look at that policy, it wasn't really relevant to anything that we do, so they had suggested we could remove it. And then finally, so I told you this would be easy. KDC is a new policy suggested by MASC. It's the community use of digital resources, and we do have in the I section a policy that is about instructional use and access to digital resources, and also an acceptable use policy for our technology. So this really mirrors that, but it's more for community use, and when community members are using the school digital resources, we wanted to have a policy in place about that use. And so one thing you'll note in here is that it does say all guests will be prompted to and must accept the district's digital use form before accessing the district network. So right now when you go online, you check the box and you go in. Joe Andrews and Margaret are working on having a policy that would pop up that you have to accept before being allowed into the internet when you're on school property. So that would just make sure that people are aware of what the policies are before using it.
So similar to what the town has.
Yep, similar to the town's policy or town's access.
Okay. All right, great. Oh, that wasn't that much talking. All right.
Did it all come back to you, Carrie? It all came back to me.
Yes.
The shall to will. It's a long time ago. A lot has happened since October.
All right, so we've got item 7.11 to approve grants and donations and act as appropriate. Nothing, okay.
yes.
Well, is it the new one? Okay. we
Yeah,
have one.
so
Oh, the HEF.
I
that's right.
alluded a couple weeks ago to a pending grant that we had, and I'm thrilled to confirm that Hingham Education Foundation this year, in lieu of doing a number of smaller grants, chose instead to kind of put all of their resources towards a somewhat larger initiative. So as you know, we've been working a lot around universal design for learning and focusing on instructional practices. In addition to looking at instructional practices, we do also hope to look at design of classroom spaces and how that can be used as a tool for increasing student voice in classrooms, student engagement, and so on. So the grant Building Thinking Classrooms in Mathematics will do both. So through this grant, Hingham Ed Foundation will be funding some professional development centered around the book by Peter Lygel called Building Thinking Classrooms in Mathematics. It will allow us to partner with an outside consultant who will lead some professional development for our secondary mathematics department. And it will allow us to design 2 kind of test classrooms that will be universally designed in a way to promote student engagement. So they will feature kind of cafe tables that are interchangeable and can be reconfigured in a number of different ways. And there will also be increased whiteboard spaces, basically lining the entire classrooms to allow students to work in collaborative groups. Both actually the cafe tables and all of the wall surfaces will be whiteboard space. So really getting students to collaborate, to discuss, and give the teacher greater visibility too on students' thinking as they're collaborating across the classrooms. So this will be more of a proof of concept that we hope to scale up, not only across the mathematics department, but also look at other disciplines and see how we can think differently about the way our classroom spaces are designed. Particularly at the high school, where it's an older building with older furnishings, it looks very much like a 1960s or 70s classroom with your classic ARM tablets and so on. So this, again, will provide some seed money to help us to begin to think a little bit outside the box, or I guess in this case, inside the box of the classroom, and how we can be more creative and innovative in those spaces. So HAF generously is going to provide a little over $35,000 for the first year of this initiative, and again, we'll use this pilot to expand in future directions.
That's incredible. Yeah, thank you.
So it's very grateful to HAF and all of the families who have contributed to that this year.
Yeah.
It's extremely generous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Any questions, comments? No?
I do just need to acknowledge 2 teachers as well who were very instrumental in this grant. Mallory Lynn is a high school math teacher, and she actually led a similar initiative in a prior district that she was in. She originally worked in Chatham, New Jersey, and so she's been really very helpful in developing some of the materials. And Sarah Jacobson as well, I need to give her a shout out. She has always been a very kind of tech forward teacher, and was very helpful in kind of the design of this grant. So.
Thank you. Somebody want to make a motion?
I will make a motion to accept the HEF grant, Building Thinking Classrooms in Mathematics, in the amount of $35,2626.96.
I will second.
Any further discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? No. Okay, thank you.
My glasses did not help me read that number.
7.12 to approve surplus and act as appropriate. We don't have anything this meeting, correct?
No.
No, okay. All right, so moving on to subcommittee and project reports and more and sign. Before I pass it over, there is a list for the 2024-2025 school committee liaison assignments in your packet. Oh, thank you. All the schools have the same person representing them as their liaison. You'll notice there is a new liaison assignment, Center for Active Living. We thought that since this was in the warrant this past year, and they are doing some additional work on getting that facility up, or at least people talking about it, I thought it might be helpful to have a liaison to attend any meetings that they have. So I have appointed Jen Benham. The Equity Task Force, I have switched that out, so Michelle Ayer will become the member who is the liaison for that task force. The Forecast Committee, it's typically the chair and the vice chair, so it's myself and Jen Benham. We had in here a full-day kindergarten coalition. Maybe that might happen. I kept it on here in case we do, so I kept Michelle Ayer on there. Hingham Arts Alliance, that stays the same with Allie Anderson. Hingham Climate Committee, thank you, Allie, again for putting your name in for that. Hingham Education Foundation, Matt Cosman. Human Rights Commission, Tim Miller-Dempsey. Legislative Liaison, Jen Benham. METCO, Michelle Ayer. School Building Committee, Michelle Ayer. And then the Select Board and Advisory Committee, that's just to anytime that they are planning to talk about the schools, for the 3 of us to make sure that one of us is attending the meeting. So it's typically the executive board. So it's myself, Jen, and Allie Anderson. CPAC, we have Matt Cosman still on there. SNAP, Tim Miller-Dempsey. Student Advisory Committee, Michelle Ayer again, and the Sustainable Budget Task Force. If that continues any work, I will stay on that. So not a lot of changes, but a couple of them, a couple adds and changes there. I don't know if that answers your question, Aisha.
Yes.
Okay, good, yeah.
And the focus would be capital and finance.
Yeah, well, the forecast would be myself and Jen, so it's typically the chair and the vice chair, so
Right,
we would go there.
So it'll be, the forecast will replace finance and capital, is that what it is?
No, no,
Okay, so
that's just to attend the forecast meetings that Michelle Monsegur does when they're going through the budget process. Yeah, but yeah,
Okay.
we continue with the finance committee.
Right, because I didn't see finance and capital there.
Oh, did I not have it on there?
No. I should-
No, on the
Is there?
subcommittee?
Is there? Okay, sorry.
Okay, yeah.
I think
no,
she's
it's okay.
thinking about for when we were going over at the dock. Is that what you're talking about?
No, I think I'm
No?
okay.
Okay.
I'm
Okay. Yeah,
Yeah,
okay.
I'm misunderstood. Yeah.
Okay, great. Okay.
Finance is still Jen sharing with Ness and Matt on.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
okay, good,
Yeah.
thank you.
And do we need for the warrants, does that just continue on?
Typically, we keep the chair of the finance committee as the
Okay.
signature.
It's the chair of the school committee or designate, so she
Okay.
is designated.
Okay, perfect.
All right, any report updates? Tim?
The Educational Programming Committee will be meeting the week actually after school gets out, and we planned a whole meeting time, and I didn't write it down. I was hoping you had it, Katie.
I do.
I was going through my
Pull that
dates
up.
at the start of this meeting. I realized I never wrote it down after we worked to get the date.
No worries.
Um,
It is.
While Katie's getting that, the Human Rights Commission also met. I wasn't able to attend that because that was last Monday during the school committee meeting. Yeah, I think that's it for me.
Salary negotiations had mediations with units A and B on May 21st. We have two strategy meetings this week. One is for units A and B, and the other one's for the Administrators Association. We have another mediation scheduled for June 11th, and our first meeting with the Administrators Association on June 13th. The Hingham Middle School Council met today and discussed updates to the handbook and the school council goals for next year. They're presenting in July, so it's coming up. I also attended the first session of the third grade town meeting today. It was wonderful. The students are really impressive, and the staff clearly did a great job getting them ready for it. So today was Foster and Pierce, and we're looking forward to hearing South and East tomorrow. And I wanted to mention that last week, Hingham Unity Council had a book discussion on the book High Conflict by Amanda Ripley. And Katie Roberts had shared it with the committee, and Michelle had passed it on to the Unity Council, and they held a community discussion. It's a great discussion. Highly recommend the book for anyone, because it's very timely.
It's great.
So thank you to them for hosting that.
PR School Council met for the last meeting of the year last week. We discussed their emergency medical plans and went through that with some good discussion. And they are also working on the goals for next year to update their school presentation that they'll bring here sometime over the summer as well, I believe. And then Climate Action has a meeting this week, and that's in my mind.
Okay. The South School Council met also last week. And Finance Facilities will meet on June 17th at 9 a.m. And there are warrants in the packet.
Great, thanks. Foster School Council met on May 23rd. The Wellness Committee, we've been hearing about the Science of Happiness this year, and there was a piloted program with 20 students who participated in that. I tried to bribe my daughter to participate, but she did not take me up on it. But Allie's son took part of it, and we're getting some really great feedback on that. It's a program that is put on by Yale. They put it out for free. There's an adult version and a teenage version. The students went through the teenage version, which I hear is better. I haven't taken them myself, but
Teaching it at my school in the fall, so
you are?
It's really
Oh, great.
good.
I'll be very well acquainted with it.
It was well received. So we will likely hear an update from one of the person who brought it to the district, and she led the discussion. So she will be coming to see us at some point and give us an update on that. So I think that's it. Okay, so before we adjourn, any other items not reasonably known within 48 hours? No. We do have our next meeting on June 17th at 6:30, and then we will be adjourning to executive session, and we will not be returning to open session.
I'll make a motion to adjourn to executive session, not to return to open session pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 21A3, for the purposes of to approve minutes from the executive session held on May 20th, 2024, as an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the public body, and the chair so declares.
I so declare.
To hear a grievance from the Hingham Education Association, as an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the public body, and the chair so declares.
I so declare.
To provide an update on negotiations, as an open meeting may have a detrimental effect on the bargaining position of the public body, and the chair so
I
declares.
so declare. Somebody want a second? Great. All those in favor, Tim?
Aye.
Carrie?
Aye.
Ally?
Aye.
Jen?
Aye.
And I'm an aye as well. Okay, we're adjourned. Thank you.